Hey guys, this was a YouTube and Twitter vote from the fans and a Patreon decision on one trash pairing. Find out how you can support the channel at the end of the video. In the world of furries, many people will point out SWAT Kats, Tailspin, many others as their starting point for furry attraction. Including Brian Howard, who was actually influenced by Disney's Robin Hood and how they were able to mirror the human experience.
Besides, what have I got to offer her? Well, for one thing, you can't cook.
Something he and others wanted to point out in Disney's latest furry movie, Zootopia. Zootopia focuses on the story of Judy Hopps, just a small town bun, living in a racist world. She took the police test to follow her dreams. Was it painful? Yes. Do I regret it? No. She then notices that she is not being treated with the same respect as her larger coworkers. But when an otter goes missing, she gets the chance to crack an impossible case with a sly fox named Nick Wilde. This political mystery white savior story is a great example of using animals as a way to portray the world we live in. But that's not the point of this video, is it? Today's video is actually all about the ship that came out of this movie, Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps. We'll be talking about their personalities, things I don't particularly like about this ship, and you can ship whatever you want, but these are just flaws that I see in the ship. Let's do this! Special thanks to our patrons on Patreon, ChronoCast9, Transformer Brett, and D Birch1. If you're at all curious on how to become a patron, look in the description below or go to patreon.com/crimsonglow. We have benefits like early access to videos, custom icons, Patreon-only polls and content, and so much more. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and press that little bell icon in the corner there. Now it's time for our regular scheduled programming. Zootopia is a great movie motivated by the commentary of bias, whether it's gender bias or racial bias, so it makes sense that our two leads come from very different sides of the track. Nick Wilde is a sly fox who grew up in poverty. He's constantly underhanded, brings himself up as a criminal who works just within the system to not get caught. But, with that being said, he also is willing to take advantage of others in order to benefit himself. Though, through the journey that he goes through, Nick actually seems to believe that he could be something more than just a label. Judy Hopps, on the other hand, was a small-town bunny with idealistic dreams of being in the big city for being a big city cop, and has worked her ass off to get to this point, only to realize, whoopsie, Zootopia is not the idealized image of equality that she thought it was, and gets saddled with an impossible assignment to prove that she can belong here as a cop. Through the movie, she examines her own prejudice against predators as well as just realizing that the real world isn't so clean, trying to make the world better after her microaggression, causing the entire city to have a bit of a race war.
Race war!
Yee. With that out of the way, why do people like this ship? From what I can tell, a lot of the appeal comes from the foil personalities and how they interact with one another throughout the movie. They are seen as equals and therefore act like they are on an even playing field. They have a lot of opposites attract appeal to them, which I guess probably helps a lot. And for some, it's solely because of aesthetically pleasing reasons, and having them together would just seem cute. Others might just be shipping them because it's so ingrained in our modern understanding of romance that the idea of them just meeting is enough to start the ship. Regardless, here is some reasons why I consider this one trash pairing.
I know you want me, you know I want you.
Now keep in mind, everyone, this is actually coming from a Zootara shipper.
It tastes like the forbidden fruit of the lychee nut.
So as far as I can tell, most of what I understand of the ship fodder is actually from the last scene of Zootopia.
You know you love me.
Do I know that? Yes.
It seems like this throwaway line and the audience was just left confused as to what that means as a result because romance is assumed unless otherwise told. With that being said, I have seen a lot of fanfiction about this concept. The resulting fanfictions can be her comfort, fluff, other things that I can't say on YouTube, and there's nothing particularly wrong with that at all, and I actually heard a few that are actually really good. But when the whole concept is just based on them meeting, or the fact that they were just close by the end of the movie, it can be kind of distracting. People have argued that time has passed, and so things have happened off screen between the two, so a relationship then developed. But the problem with that? Well, it's the fact that it's too far a time skip for the audience to process a relationship unless you actually establish it. This can be done with dialogue exchange, personal effects around a location, or things like that, but it's just kind of based on this one line at the end of the movie.
No, I don't. I only have a friend. Come on.
Okay, here's my question. This relationship, would it work better as a friendship or a romance? This is a sincere question. I want answers.
Answer me!
Does this help the plot at all, or does it express any of the themes of the movie? Some would argue, yes, it would be the idea of unity between prey and predator. One of the ultimate unities of a people is that of love for the sake of love. And it would be a good way to talk about interracial couples and the struggles that they have to face. The problem I have with this, though, is that this is Disney. While this could be talked about through Disney, I don't think would ever actually get into these more in-depth questions. I don't know, I could be wrong. And some would say no, because not every relationship between two people has to be romantic or sexual. Also, Judy and Nick's relationship is based on the fact that one blackmailed the other into helping them and is trying to solve a murder. Judy's racial prejudice is still very much there and doesn't go away when you start dating someone. You could address this in universe and talk about those subjects, but like I said, I don't think that Disney would be able to properly talk about it, at least right now. My opinion, I honestly think it just works better as a friendship. They bounce off of each other really well, build their lives around helping one another, but also feel more independent. Though I like the ideas and the struggles that come from the ship and what people have talked about.
We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale.
So apparently in one of these earlier drafts of the movie, there's a scene for some shippers to talk about. In this scene, Judy's family appears at her apartment to visit her and see how things are going. This scene, by the way, if you remember, would have been where the phone call scene would have gone, except it's implied that it'd be later down the road in the movie. This was supposed to be the moment that the family finally realized that she was a traffic cop while mistaking Nick as her new boyfriend. In this scene, Nick was defending Judy for being a real cop and continued on to the investigation. I can understand why this scene was cut. Honestly, reportedly, it was because they wanted Judy to be forced to quit via an outside source. Problem with that was that it kind of hurt the characters of the parents and Judy because it felt less like she failed and more like the parents no longer allowed her to be there.
Sweet cheese and crackers, he's your boyfriend.
You know what? This has been great. I was actually just leaving.
No, wait.
This scene was later changed to the scene with Police Chief Bogo in the Rainforest District. This was a much stronger scene because it felt like Judy actually was failing at doing something. It wasn't because people were allowing her to be there, but because she was having a hard time coping, making the scene so much more poignant when Nick actually steps in to defend Judy. Would the scene have made this interesting shipping fodder? I mean, maybe, kind of. Usually moments like that are presented as moments where the audience or the characters can see things in a more romantic light. I'm sure that it would have helped some people see it that way as a standing up for your significant other. The problem is that it is just one deleted scene. It really wouldn't have helped the whole story overall. If we were going off the old version of the original product, we would have been having so many discomforting things by that collar bet mitzvah that was in the original draft. I mean, yeesh.
Wait a minute. How did this happen? We're smarter than this.
Apparently not.
So then, what are my overall thoughts on Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps as a ship? There's not really a whole lot for me to go off of this ship, honestly. I don't hate it. Honestly, I feel like I'm very neutral to this ship. Does that make sense? I am very neutral to this ship. I actually think a lot of things are cute artistically, and the stories that have come from it are actually kind of interesting to tell. However, based on the movie itself, the focus isn't really on anything romantic. But you can have all sorts of ships, you know, that's why shipping goggles exist. If it wasn't for the original take of this movie, where it focused on the predator perspective, Judy was originally a well-established police officer already. Maybe I could have seen it more, but, you know, we're never gonna see that. But hey, that's what fanfiction is for, right? Improving, exploring, or expanding on pieces of the original material and going deeper into them to see what they might mean or what they might become. Or it's just smut. You know, everybody likes some good smut every once in a while. I don't particularly hate this ship. There's just not enough for me to be invested in it. With that being said, this has been your Future Evil Overlord, Crimson Glow, and I still have one more furry thing I have to do. Stay tuned.
Ah.